Hey everybody, welcome to the ATP Project. You're with your host Steve-O and
Yes.
myself, Nick.
How are you,
Steve?
Nick?
I'm good.
I'm glad you're feeling well today.
Yeah.
Because you know what we're talking about today, don't you?
I do know what we're talking about.
Ooh, good old
PMS.
PMS. PMS stands for premenstrual syndrome. So it's something that happens before you menstruate. And it's a syndrome, which is a group of symptoms.
Yes.
That's what syndrome means, by the way, for those who are playing along at home. So it's a group of symptoms that happen before you menstruate. Now, half the world menstruates and a lot of women get PMS. I mean, PMS is a kind of a normal, everyone gets something, you know, the statistics are quite high on it, that a lot of women suffer something or other premenstrually.
Yeah.
You know, it's so common that we thought we'd have to do a podcast about it.
Yeah.
And there's some great treatments about it. I've got some new studies in here.
Yeah, we've got lots of studies, lots of cool things we can do about it. But it's interesting you say, well, a lot of people have PMS and, you know, the majority of my clients, female clients, do have some type of PMS or some symptoms. So it's very common, but it's not normal.
Exactly. Yeah, it's common but not normal.
Yeah.
And now you've got these phases of the cycle that women go through. We've got the menses, the bleeding, about 5 to 7 days or 3 to 5 days, whatever your normal is. Then you've got the first phase and then you've got the luteal phase.
Yeah.
You know, and the luteal phase is when all the action happens.
That's right.
Now, the luteal phase, and day 14, women ovulate. They release a little egg. It comes down the fallopian tube.
Yeah.
Goes into the uterus and gets fertilised maybe.
Maybe.
And if it doesn't, it dies.
That's right.
Now, the dying part's interesting because if the egg doesn't survive, then it's making progesterone to build the uterus up to have a fertility thing and make a baby. And if it doesn't get fertilised, it dies. Progesterone levels plummet, estrogen levels plummet, and that's when the action happens, right?
Yep.
So hormones have a lot to do with this, but a lot of the symptoms are in your head. So there's a link between sex hormones and how you feel.
Oh, definitely. So there's a lot of neurotransmitter involvement in hormones, but maybe we should go through some of the symptoms.
And what is PMS and what is PMDD and what is
that's right.
There's even LLDD and there's
all sorts
of all sorts. Well, what are they, Nick? Give us a rundown.
So PMS basically is pretty much like you said. It's a set of emotional, physical, and behavioural symptoms that a woman experiences of cycling age, leading up to her. Pretty much her period basically, and then her period happens and everything sort of calms down again, and then it sort of builds up again. And as you said, mid-cycle is where everything starts to go a little bit, can go a little bit sort of sideways. So that's PMS, but then there's also PMDD.
Oh, that's interesting. PMDD,
premenstrual dysphoric disorder.
Yeah, that's a bit more severe.
A little bit more severe.
About 5% of women get this.
Yeah, I mean, I have had clients that have had quite severe PMDD, and it's really very impactful on their life. So it can be quite awful, debilitating. It can be quite debilitating. So this, it's more associated with mood changes, severe mood changes, cognitive issues, all of that sort of thing. But severe depressive moods is very common. It's very heightened anxiety as well. But look, to the point even where some women have suicidal thoughts, that can be how severe it can be. So quite serious.
Yeah.
So they're sort of quite, like a spectrum of these sort of symptoms can get from fairly mild to very, very severe for some women. So a lot of the symptoms, we've got physical symptoms and we've got psychological symptoms that can be associated. And there's your usual, most women would know, bloating, breast tenderness and swelling, feeling of fullness, fluid retention, changes in bowel habits, either constipation or diarrhea, fatigue, food cravings, clumsiness is one as well. Women can sometimes get a bit clumsy around this.
Really?
Yeah, that's not an uncommon thing.
Didn't even really know that one.
Yeah, pelvic pain, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that sort of physical symptoms, crampy, and then the psychological symptoms, which a lot of women will be familiar with.
Well, that's incredible. Now, obviously, sex, steroids get into the brain, plus what sort of neurotransmitters are involved in this system? There's a few there. What are they?
Yeah, so there's the GABAergic pathway.
GABA-aminobutyric acid.
Yep. So that's nice calming.
Yeah.
It sort of calms everything down.
Yep.
Serotonergic pathway, so you know about serotonin and what that does, and that's your happy hormone. Dopaminergic pathway, as well. So that's your pleasure and reward type pathway. And then your glutaminergic pathway as well. So that glutamate is very excitatory in the brain. So, the hormones definitely, they cross over the blood-brain barrier.
Yep.
And then they turn into like what's called a neurosteroid, and then they interact with all these pathways. And that can cause a lot of these symptoms if there's a lot of whack. So,
Well, let's just focus on serotonin pathway.
Yeah.
What are some of the symptoms of people with low serotonin?
So anxiety, depression, irritability, sleep issues, changes in appetite, carbohydrate cravings, rage and anger. A lot of women might know about that.
Glad I didn't say. You know, I'm being politically very correct here. I'm going, because, but it's okay to talk about this because this is a medical condition.
Yeah.
And you know, it's serious. I mean, some of the low serotonin things, other was migraines, that sort of thing. Women suffer terribly with this stuff.
No, it's awful. It's really awful. Yeah, and you know, the mood imbalances alone can be quite awful.
Yeah.
Teariness and all that sort of thing. A lot of women would be very familiar with. So
we sort of all know them, but it's good just to run over them because you know we have a lot of males listening to the podcast and.
They might have switched off by now, but don't because if you understand your partner a bit better around her time of the month and you know her cycle, you might be a bit more lenient with perhaps if she's not feeling the best.
Nah, screw that. No, I'm joking. Right, I'm joking.
Okay, moving on.
There's emails already. Okay, so you've done serotonin. You mentioned GABA before, GABA-aminobutyric acid.
Yeah.
You know, what role does that play in the brain? And just go on that. And what are the symptoms of low GABA?
So as I said, GABA is your calming neurotransmitter. So it helps balance brain cell activity, and it prevents that overexcitation. So that real anxious, wound up type feeling, and it makes you feel nice and calm.
The overthinking is a classic one.
Yeah, definitely.
So women, if they're low in GABA, and males for that matter, they suffer anxiety. So the common treatment for that is GABAergic drugs.
Yeah.
Which are not a great idea.
No.
But they're like the benzodiazepines and that sort of thing. So we're not recommending those like the Valiums.
Yeah.
They stimulate GABA, which calms your mind, but very addictive and not the great way to do it. But it's those racing thoughts and those problems that oversensitivity. So whereas, you know, Joe Sixpack might do something wrong, another time of the month he'll get a snarl, but if he does it at the wrong time of the month, he'll get an absolute flogging. And that's what happens. It's not like, you know, and you know, a lot of guys don't understand that.
No, and a lot of the guys do think women are just like, oh, it's just being crazy.
Yeah.
But really, if your hormones are significantly dysregulated, it can really impact your mood to the point where sometimes you just don't even feel yourself. You can't control some of the emotions that you're having. You know, some women cry at the drop of a hat. Or, like you said, something happens and it's just like a hair trigger. Yeah. And women really can't control that. Hormones are extremely powerful things. So, if you've got a lot of one or not enough of the other and they're not balanced, it can really cause a lot of mood imbalances. So
it's terrible. It's terrible. And especially if you've got this severely. You know, I mean, and you mentioned dopamine too. Okay, so they've got low dopamine. What symptoms do they manifest as?
So that's sort of like your rest and reward sort of neurotransmitter. Yep. So obviously if they're low, so lack of self-worth, no enjoyment, no pleasure, no motivation, poor decision-making, poor motor control, poor learning, that type of thing. So that can be some of the low symptoms. And then you can also have high dopamine levels as well. So then you can have the opposite, so over-excitation and overstimulation and aggression and heightened sensory perception and things like that. So things are just completely heightened. So you don't want super high dopamine either because that's not pleasant.
No one's super high anything. The weird thing is, you know, from a male point of view, obviously I've never experienced this, but as a partner I've experienced this because we all do. And for a male that doesn't have cycles, we just have testosterone of 1% to 2% every year declines over as we age. So mine's practically negative 47 now, my age. But you know, we don't have those sort of monthly fluctuations. So it's very difficult for men to understand this, but this is a real thing. And hormones really, they get in the brain and they change your reality. And, you know, the worst thing you can say is, oh, you're just, you know, being oversensitive because in their reality, their sensitivity is justified.
Yeah. Yeah, or they can't control it.
Yeah.
I mean, look, personally, I'm a woman. Everyone hadn't noticed, but I know.
Now
Steve.
you tell me.
I know. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't have made those inappropriate jokes. Yeah.
But I've gone through these types of things as well. And sometimes, if my hormones have been out of whack in the past, you do feel like you're not yourself, and you sometimes you just feel like, where is this even coming from? Like just snapping at the drop of a hat, or you're crying at the drop of a hat, and it's actually awful because you cannot control it.
Yeah.
So it can be really impactful. And so, to have a partner that turns around and just, says something a bit not nice out of it can make things worse.
Like,
Nice.
you look nice today, Nick. You mean I was ugly yesterday?
So towards the later stages of your luteal phase, your progesterone will drop off.
Yes.
And that's there is a connection between your progesterone and your GABA.
GABA.
So tell us.
Absolutely. Now, progesterone is the wonderful relaxing hormone that women
Yes.
experience. When they fall pregnant and they're kind of like, oh, so lovely. Well, actually, most women.
I'm sorry, Steve. I just whacked the microphone. Keep going.
It's all right. There's like a big boom in Pummon's ears. They're driving along.
Matt in the
They're
corner.
probably driving the car thinking they've lopped over a cat or something, but don't worry about it.
I'm very, I think I should have Italian in me because I talk with my hands a lot. So
You've got Greek, you've got German in you, haven't you?
German,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. I've got Scottish. I've got Scottish. I got Scottish
you're
in me.
Scottish.
A bit of Scottish, a bit of English.
Oh.
That's
Good.
same accent, wasn't it?
That's an
I'm
accent
shit
English.
at that.
I'm not good at I'm not going to do a
I'm
German
a
accent.
convict, so just watch your stuff. And to see them from convict.
I've got convict blood too.
Oh,
got a bit
dear.
of everything.
Oh, dear. We're in trouble, aren't we?
I know.
So, all right. So, as you asked about progesterone, now, progesterone is that one that makes you feel good when you're pregnant. So, you know, there was a woman I work with, and she was over the moon. She was pregnant. She was young. And this is back in the Metagenics days. This is a lot of years ago.
Wow.
And she was absolutely all happy all the time. And it used to bug us because we used to tease her, and she was unteasable because she was pregnant and that was her life goal. She loved it.
Yeah.
So I'd try anything to you know. It's
Make
like,
you not feel happy.
well, you know, just make gags about it, you know,
Right,
because she
okay.
grew quite large and she was just, you know, just bubbly about it.
Yeah.
And, you know, she'd say, oh, sorry, I'm late. I said, don't worry, your stomach made it on time, you know, because, this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But she was happy all the time because of this progesterone. She was so sedate because progesterone drives up GABA. And GABA is the thing that relaxes you. Like if you take a happy pill like a benzo, you'll feel relaxed and chilled out for that time, and we don't recommend that. No. But what happens is, of course, is when you lose progesterone, at the end of your cycle, you lose GABA. So you start to get more irritated.
Yeah.
And so as progesterone drops, irritation goes up. And so, you know, just before the start of your bleed is when you get that severe anxiety in that, because you've taken the handbrake off your brain and it's all over the place.
That's right.
So progesterone has this wonderful link. And, you know, there are some pills that don't have progesterone, some that are just progesterone, and some that have mixture. Most have a mixture. Yeah. And so if you have the wrong type of pill, you're going to get the wrong dose of progesterone. You're going to have the wrong frame of mind.
Yeah.
So that's a really a scary thing.
It is, yeah.
And of course, as you know, estrogen and progesterone are also involved in the serotonergic system.
Yeah.
So without the serotonin, what are the symptoms of that? You get depression.
Depression, so sad, crying, you know, mood imbalances, that sort of thing. So can be quite significant as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, I've got a study later, and I won't preempt it now, where they tried serotonergic drugs, antidepressants, on PMS, and it helped them.
yeah, okay.
So it doesn't affect their hormones, but
Yeah.
just the serotonin. So it's pretty incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Now, estrogen also increases dopamine synthesis. So, you know, estrogen, when it drops away at the end of the cycle, you're going to lose that dopaminergic focus and that dopaminergic feeling of reward. So you're going to be down on yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is just terrible.
It is terrible. So, so memory,
Yep.
cognitive, sort of executive function, that's sort of more glutamate. But yeah, dopamine as well. So that reward and pleasure and all that sort of thing, motivation, that kind of goes out the window a little bit.
I know, and very interestingly, people with PMS, PMDD, the real depression, they have low cortisol.
Yes.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because cortisol, we pick on a lot here. We say, that's bad, we've got to reduce it, But these people are under cortisol. Now cortisol is essential.
Yeah, like everything, every chemical in the body.
It's there for a reason.
Yeah.
But we get amazing things with the brain. I love the brain when it comes to PMS because you're changing the circulation of blood around your brain too. And it's absolutely amazing. You know, so, you know, you have absolute changes in your brain.
Yeah.
And there is also, it's not just there is a genetic link. There's been twin studies done on severe PMS, which is PMDD.
Yeah.
And there's a link between, your genes.
Yeah, there is.
And it's quite incredible. But there are sometimes reasons why you have high and low levels of hormones. Like a lot of people talk about estrogen dominance. So what's sort of some of the causes, or even one of the main causes for estrogen dominance?
Yeah. Well, I guess we should first explain what estrogen dominance is.
Yeah, good.
Because it doesn't necessarily mean you've got wildly elevated levels of estrogen all the time. So obviously we're talking about estrogen, progesterone, like everything in the body, you want to have a good balance, a good ratio. So you could have perfectly normal levels of estrogen, but very low progesterone, and that's still going to create estrogen dominant symptoms.
Right.
So you want to, or you can have very high levels of estrogen, but very high levels of progesterone, but they're still within ratio, so you're not going to get
absolutely fine.
Part of the symptoms. So estrogen dominance is basically just that dysregulation in that ratio between your estrogen and your progesterone. So there's quite a few things that can cause higher estrogen or estrogen excess. Or
What's the most common one in Australia?
The most common one?
Yeah.
Obesity?
Yeah.
That was like a question, not an answer.
Oh, no. You're absolutely correct.
You trick me all the time, Steve.
No, I didn't trick you up. It's like obesity is absolutely one. Now, obesity is because the fat cells have aromatase activity and they make estrogen.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, whether you just have to make it. Now, also what's closely linked with that is insulin resistance. And what does that do?
Oh, that causes all sorts. So that increases aromatase activity.
Exactly. But what are some of the real causes that can make PMS worse?
Well, because this is my area of expertise, not the gut, I'm going to talk about the gut.
Oh, of course you are.
So gut dysbiosis, any gut sort of imbalances can definitely have a huge impact on our hormones for multiple reasons. Obviously, inflammation is going to impact them as well. But in the gut, we have something called the estrobolome.
I love that word.
Yeah, I know.
There's also the testosterone.
Yeah.
It doesn't flow as well.
Testosterone. No, see, it doesn't.
Doesn't.
Didn't even come out right.
Estrobolome.
Estrobolome. So we have microbes within our gut ecosystem that produce an enzyme called beta-glucuronidase. And what beta-glucuronidase does is it deconjugates bound estrogen. So estrogen, we've metabolized it. It's going to go down into phase 1, phase 2 liver detox to be excreted. So it becomes bound. It becomes conjugated. And what beta-glucuronidase does is it basically unbinds it and makes it free again, and then it will recirculate through the body. So, and there's a reason for that, because it sort of regulates our estrogen. So if it's a little bit low, it will, deconjugate more estrogen so that more is circulating back through the system. But if you have a gut imbalance, those bacteria can get out of, can become overgrown or proliferate, and then you can be producing a lot of beta-glucuronidase, and then you're deconjugating a lot of this bound estrogen, and then that can create estrogen, increase your estrogen levels and cause estrogen dominance. So gut dysbiosis is very significant and who doesn't have some gut issues? And most people, not all, but most people. So I find that to be I see that quite regularly, and you can measure beta-glucuronidase in a stool analysis, and I see that elevated quite a lot. So
amazing, eh?
Yeah, so that's one way.
And what are EDCs? You want to talk about
endocrine disrupting chemicals?
I love that. Yeah. That rolls off the tongue too.
I know, there's some good words, isn't there? Really roll off the tongue. So they're chemicals or mixtures of chemicals that interfere with the way the body's hormones work. So there's some that act like they mimic hormones. So they can impact your own hormone sort of production and where they sit on receptors. That some of them block our natural hormones from doing the jobs that they're supposed to do, and some increase or decrease the level of our hormones as well. So can be really impactful, and I think people don't put enough emphasis on how disruptive these EDCs can be.
Yeah.
So, to my clients with hormonal issues, I do talk a lot about don't cook in plastics and, don't be careful what you're putting on your body. So a lot of, obviously women with their beauty care products, we put a lot of products on our body.
Tons of it.
A lot of those can have.
I'm always shopping for Beck's stuff at the chemist and this, that. And, and she's pretty she works as a nurse.
Yeah.
So you know what she's doing today?
What? She's not doing the ketamine stuff.
No, worse.
Oh, that was yesterday.
She's
Okay.
giving drugs to patients that don't want to be there. They've court ordered. She's got to give them injectable drugs.
Oh,
I'll
my
leave it at
goodness.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, powerful drugs.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
All right, then. That sounds fun.
They say she's sticking needles in people against their will.
But don't want to be.
No, don't want to be there.
All right, it sounds fun.
Love that.
Yeah, great.
So it's funny.
Why don't they want to? I don't. Why don't they want to be there?
Oh, they have a
psychiatric
mental health
patients?
issue, yes.
Okay.
And they're court ordered to have the drugs because if they're off the drugs, they're off the drugs.
Okay.
And they go nuts.
Oh, that's a tough gig, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah. And she's only 50 kilos. So,
Wow.
Imagine wrestling a 100-kilo guy to the ground and sticking a needle in his butt.
That sounds great.
That's a job.
Yeah, that's what nurses do. Obviously, don't get paid anywhere near enough. They're going to do that
No.
sort of thing.
Oh, no, she does all sorts of weird things at work there.
Wow. So yeah. So Beck with her beauty products.
Yep.
So that can be another thing, and everything: shampoo, deodorant. Your moisturizer, skin moisturizers, perfumes. All of that sort of thing can be really impactful as well. And then environmental things like pollutants, air
Yep.
pollutants, all that sort of stuff.
So you can't avoid this stuff.
You can't avoid it, no. So the more you can minimise, the better. And obviously, you're not going to tell everyone to go out and get rid of all their, say, beauty products and replace them all with organic, natural products at once. But I usually say just pick a product, pick something, say shampoo, and next time when you run out, try and look for a more natural one. And then when your next product runs out, so you're not, just cleaning your whole cupboard out. We all know drink out of stainless steel bottles and don't put plastic in
These
the
are good.
microwave.
Our bottles are plastic. They're
plastic.
they're the good plastic.
Yes. Yeah.
She's almost dropped that on the ground. It stuck to it. That's funny, eh?
Oh, there you go. So
That would have been quite
that would have
alarming,
been
wouldn't
interesting.
it?
Yeah, you're spilling your stuff everywhere.
Okay, so what about, if you've got, crappy liver or if you drink
Yeah.
alcohol, does that help?
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, initially, at
Initially
the
it
moment, alcohol
helps, yeah.
probably would help, but not
Yep.
longer term. Yeah. So poor liver detoxification capacity.
Yeah.
Obviously, we detox our hormones, our metabolized hormones through the liver. So if you're if your phase 1, phase 2 are not 100%, that's going to definitely impact your ability to detoxify these hormones. And then alcohol as well is really bad for that as well. So.
It's very bad for men too, and just, no, we're not talking about men today, but it upregulates the conversion of testosterone through to estradiol and estrogen.
Yeah.
So if a male drinks too much, their testosterone level drops low during that period, and they struggle. And it's called brewer's droop, where they can't perform.
No, I've never heard that before.
You've never heard of brewer's droop?
Brewer's droop, no.
Gee whiz, Nick, where you haven't lived your
No,
life.
I have not lived my
You
life.
haven't been at the pub with a guy, and
I don't go to the pub generally, no.
but guys, if they drink too much, they can't
there you go.
perform.
I mean, I knew that bit. I just never knew it was called Brewer's Droop.
Well, that's the nickname of it.
It's made me spit. I got so shocked at that. Sorry. Oh, wow.
You never heard Brewer's Droop?
I've never heard Brewer's Droop.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Maybe
that's
I shouldn't
good.
use slang
My life
words
is
too
complete.
often.
My life is complete.
Yeah, absolutely. So liver and all that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
but of course, progesterone is our lovely hormone that we've established is really good. What are some of the things that cause progesterone to drop in women?
Well, I see this a lot. A lot. So
This is the biggie.
Yes, I mean the most common thing, probably the most common thing in my population of clients that I see anyway, is low progesterone causing a lot of these hormonal imbalances, and some of the really common reasons, because the population of people I see have a fairly healthy lifestyle, the majority of them. Over exercising, very, very common, will suppress your progesterone production so significantly. So I see it in athletes.
Can I ask you, because you were a body sculptor,
Yes.
Did you ever suffer any low hormone symptoms when you were competing? Because you don't have to say them, but
Yes.
you used to compete as a body sculptor, so you were ridiculously lean. You were 50 kilos. I can't remember your weight.
I got down to, my lowest weight was 47 kilos.
Holy jeez! And you're a tall girl.
I'm tall and I'm quite broad. Yeah, so I sit around about 65 now, leanish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I was very, very extremely too lean, and there's a story around that, but I didn't mean to get that lean. It just towards the end, I think my body just sort of shut down. But yes, I had very little sex hormones for quite a few years.
Wow.
Yeah, very little progesterone and also very little estrogen as well. So didn't cycle for a long time. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, but I didn't care because I wanted to compete and be an athlete.
Yeah.
So which is not a good thing longer term. So
No.
Yeah, and I mean back then that things have definitely changed in the fitness industry now. People are a lot more aware of it. I know coaches and trainers and nutritionists, and they're all very much try to support that the hormonal production, and so they're not losing hormones. But you know what? Some women do quite easily, and then some women can cycle right through their comps.
Wow.
So it just depends on genetics to a large degree as well. But yeah, over exercising is very common. Also under eating and also low carb diets.
Wow.
Really common to see that with low carb diets as well. So there's some of the things that I see. Obviously stress is a big one.
Stress is a big one because cortisol is made from progesterone.
Yeah.
So you suck it down that pathway.
That's right.
What about PCOS? Because polycystic ovarian syndrome, where women don't ovulate much.
Yeah.
That could be a cause, couldn't it?
Yeah, definitely PCOS. I see that a lot.
Yep.
So and sometimes in PCOS I see very, very high levels of progesterone, believe it or not.
Really?
Occasionally I do. Occasionally I do.
There you go.
Yeah. So, and then obviously perimenopausal, that starts to drop off your progesterone. And that's again why when you're in that perimenopausal phase, you can get more anxious and you can start to have insomnia and all those types of things as well because your progesterone is dropping off. And then you are estrogen dominant. So, and you can have wild fluctuations with estrogen in that late perimenopausal phase as well. So not only do you have low progesterone, but you have wildly fluctuating estrogen. So right up, right down. And so, women are just all over the place. I don't know, everything's gone sideways. So,
wow.
So yeah, so that can be, and thyroid disorders as well.
Yeah, low T3. You want to explain T3 and how that relates to progesterone?
Yeah, so T3 is needed to release progesterone from the luteal cells in the corpus luteum, which is what you were talking about before. So if you've got low T3, that's going to impact that pathway as well.
It's incredible. Okay, so what if you're breastfeeding got high prolactin?
High prolactin, so that will also suppress it. So and that's not an uncommon thing. I mean, obviously during breastfeeding, you don't want to be possibly don't want to be ovulating. Although I know women who have been breastfeeding and got pregnant again.
I know you shouldn't be, but you should be infertile. But don't rely on that.
Don't rely on that. I have had a couple of friends that relied on that, and then now they have more children. So maybe don't rely on that.
You don't want to do that. You don't want more children. Once you've made one mistake, isn't that enough? No, I should say. It's kind of like it's funny because I do know a lot of people have just had one kid now.
Oh, okay.
And you and I know one person who's just had one child and never going to have any more either.
That's right.
I won't mention her name.
No.
But
no.
She's a friend of ours.
Mention her name. Yeah, I know. I think I brought that up with her at one point and she just about grabbed my throat through the phone. Do not say that.
I think soon after she gave birth, she said, I said, how was your first child? She goes, well, it's not my first child, it's my last child.
Yeah.
I went, oh, okay.
And you know how a lot of women, they say, never do it again, and they do.
Yeah.
No, she will never do it again.
No.
Never.
No, I think she made it permanent too. I won't go into the details. Yeah, I'll tell you after the podcast what happened there.
Okay.
But it's quite permanent.
Wow.
Now, some women also have high levels of progesterone, which can throw you out too. And what are some of the causes of that?
So less common to see high progesterone, but inflammation, obesity again, insulin resistance again.
Yep.
EDCs, so endocrine disrupting chemicals, and stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's some of the reasons for those wild sort of fluctuations or reduced ability to produce some hormones. Low cholesterol was of that under-eating. So obviously
the under-eating.
Cholesterol is needed to produce sex hormones. So a lot of these people are on low-fat diets. And there are still quite a few people because the low-fat diet, I'm starting to see a bit of resurgence in.
Really?
In that, yeah, believe it or not. So keto seems to be on its way out. Sorry, it's still all over it. It seems to be less so because they're showing that high fat can impact the gut microbiome negatively as well.
Can.
So some people are a bit more low fat, or should I say low saturated fats and things like that. But yeah, we need cholesterol to produce sex hormones.
You had my nuts before, so that's high fat.
I had your nuts before. I had some macadamia nuts, Steve, that you have
little
on the
round
desk.
Ones. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. So they were good. And nice macadamia nuts.
Yes.
I'm going to have to cut that
one. But they're a healthy food that's high in fat.
They are. They're good, healthy fat nuts. So that's some of the reasons for low and high.
So we've painted a terrible picture here, and it sounds like there's no end in sight here. But there are treatments.
Yeah, and
there are natural, There are synthetic, and we'll run through the synthetic ones first. And just very quickly, because we're not doing podcast out, there are synthetic ones. Mostly doctors put women that have severe PMS on the contraceptive pill. That's fair to say.
Yeah, because that fixes everything, doesn't it?
Well,
doesn't it, Steve?
it's funny
They
because
wouldn't do it otherwise, would they?
And for those who don't know, most people know this, but a contraceptive pill usually has estrogen and progesterone in it. So it tricks your body into thinking it's pregnant till you stop ovulating. And so you go on the pill for 21 days, go off it for 7 days. That's why if you look at your guys, if you're looking at your girlfriend's, pill packet, 28 pills in there, and there's 7 that are a different colour.
And they're still there?
They're still there. You can actually use them as lollies if you want. They're full of lactose usually.
Yeah.
Just don't take the wrong ones or you'll grow breasts.
Exactly. Or if she's going through them quicker, then you might want to be careful about contraception. She might be...
Yeah. Make sure she's taking them.
Yeah. So the contraceptive pill is, the treatment for hormonal imbalances in
also,
medically.
Antidepressants?
Yes, antidepressants. Well, that's exactly when I went to the doctor after I finished competing, because this was obviously long before I was a naturopath, and I was starting to have issues and thyroid and all that sort of thing, obviously, all those things. What they wanted to do was put me on the pill and give me an antidepressant. That was their answer. So how that was going to help me, I do not know, But what it does is it doesn't fix the problem. It just fixes the symptoms. So when you decide to come off the pill, then all those problems you had beforehand are going to come back, and probably even more so because you then have bounce back effects as well. So that's a whole nother episode in itself.
And the other thing they give is non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs.
Yeah.
Because the pain associated with PMS, if you're suffering the pain, NSAIDs are a classic drug given for pain relief. Most people take Nurofen and those sort of things, but usually it's a prescription pain. And we've got some studies here comparing natural medicine with non-steroidal anti-inflammatories for pain. So we've got some good things coming up there.
Got some really good things coming up, yeah.
So overall, just from before we get into the specific nutrients, which are really cool, what generally would you tell a woman who's suffering PMS? What would you sort of get them to generally do with their lifestyle?
So first of all, we would look at their lifestyle. So we'd look at their stress. We'd look at whether they're sleeping. We look at their diet is a really big one, and exercise. So all the lifestyle factors to see what could be contributing. Because sometimes it can just be purely lifestyle factors, and if they adjust those, they can start to feel better. We can do a lot nutritionally as well.
Yeah,
so
we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
What I've got a bit of a theory that I think every single condition that every single person's got, if they improve their diet, lifestyle, exercised, and did all that correctly, and then see what's left.
Yeah.
And if there's still lingering things left over, treat naturally or medically. But, I think lifestyle, it gets rid of most diseases, it really does.
Well, I mean, there's no point giving a supplement if your lifestyle's factors are contributing. So,
exactly.
Why bypass that and take a supplement that's not going to be anywhere near as effective? A supplement is a supplement, like it's supplementary. So
supplement's a good diet.
It's not to be relied on as the answer. So you want to make sure that all those other lifestyle pillars are, nice and balanced. And then, as you said, you go from there. So, and the other thing we can look at testing as well. So, which I do a lot of.
What sort of tests would you look at this? And funny, you're probably going to say stool test.
Well, yes, I do. That wasn't going to be my first one, actually, but I do look at stool tests.
You're going to do Dutch? Was that your first one?
No, that's going to be my second one.
Damn, I can never guess.
Damn, wrong.
What's your first one then?
I'll just go for bloods first.
Blood
testing, because one, it's cheap and it's easy.
Yeah.
So that and then you get a lot of other information from a lot of the other markers as well. So hormonal testing via bloods as a first stop, unless there's some really significant stuff going on symptomatically, the symptom picture is quite significant, and lifestyle factors are all on point, then I would go more to functional testing probably straight up.
Sure.
But otherwise, just normal blood testing. So I'd be doing estrogen, progesterone, sex hormone binding globulin, androstenedione, testosterone. So I do like a fairly significant panel.
Yeah.
And I usually would do that on day 21 of the cycle. Now, here's the problem. Most people that come to me that have hormonal dysregulation, a lot of them don't have a 28-day cycle. So then it becomes quite challenging. And a lot of women they may say, oh, no, I have a 30-day cycle or a 32-day cycle. But some women say, oh, well, last month I had a 26-day cycle, then I had a 40-day cycle, then I haven't had one, and now I'm... So it's very hard to then gauge where do you get the hormones tested because you don't know where you're sitting. So
God.
Sometimes I say...
Women are all over the place, aren't they?
They're all over the place, yes. So, but they don't have to be.
No.
So blood testing can be a good way if we can capture it. So we want to capture it day 21 because we want to capture that progesterone peak.
Yeah.
So see whether you are producing enough progesterone. So, I mean, we can measure other times of the month specifically to look at estrogen, but your estrogen, we can see if your estrogens are too high. So we can capture quite a bit in that time. And then we look at inflammatory markers, liver markers and all that sort of thing, and what can be contributing to the symptoms outside of, just looking at the hormones. And then I would be looking at Dutch testing.
Dutch. Now, what's a Dutch test?
So that's a dried urine hormone test, basically. It's the gold standard in hormonal testing. And that measures so many things. So it measures, because there's 3 different types of estrogen, E1, E2, E3.
Easy to remember on exam, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just say estrone, estradiol, and estriol.
Yeah. So it measures them. It also measures the metabolites, the pathways they're going down. So whether they're going down the correct O2 pathway or they're going down
methoxyestrone.
Yeah, or the 4-menoxy pathway. How well you're methylating, which we haven't talked about methylation and how that's involved, obviously through the liver also. And then it looks at your androgens, it looks at everything. So it's a really comprehensive test to look at where things might be going wrong. So that's one, and also stool testing, as you said, because looking at the gut, looking at beta-glucuronidase levels and whether there's gut hyperpermeability and all of that sort of thing as well. So there's some tests. And then you can do a full month of cycle tracking.
Yep.
So you can take measurement this is for people who are like really, really want to know, every day of your cycle, because your hormones do fluctuate a lot throughout the month, and they're not just, they're going to be low here and high here, and they kind of go up and down all over the place a little bit, a small amount throughout the month. So you can track the whole month, and then we can get a really good picture of what is actually happening, so that you can also look at that. So there's some really good tests available to help.
That's amazing. And so, okay, so let's say, we'll fast forward. Let's say you've got PMS, okay, and there's people listening here. It's like, great, this is all fascinating stuff, and it is, because you want to know how the body works. But if you've got any, like, what's your favourite? I'll start off with your favourite herb, and we can't go through them all. There's so many. Okay. We can go through a few, but what's your favourite herb for the treatment of PMS?
It's got to be chaste tree.
It's mine too.
Yeah.
It's also called Vitex. Agnus Catus, but it's also chaste tree.
Yeah.
And this is the one that's really been studied a lot.
Yeah.
This is the one that you'll find in all your, this is not a secret. This is a very well researched herb for the treatment of PMS.
Yeah.
And it is because it drives down prolactin.
Yep.
Drives up dopamine, which drives progesterone, and that's usually what most people want.
That's right.
But there is a study here that we've got here. We'll get into a bit of the data here.
Yeah.
Now, this is what we call a meta-analysis of double-blind randomized controlled trials. We've got this study here, and it's published in Complementary Therapeutic Medicine. So it's quite a prestigious journal. Now, just for those who don't understand what meta-analysis and double-blind randomized controlled trials are the gold standard for trials. And a meta-analysis of those is all of them grouped together. So they look at all of them together and pool the results. So it is the number one form of evidence. So when people say, oh, there's no evidence for natural medicine, have you heard that?
I don't know. A little bit recently I have heard that.
Oh, yeah. We won't say who said that, but there's a gentleman on the internet. And it's sort of like, to me, it's baffling. Now you've got to remember, there was 21 clinical trials used here. So not one, not two, 21.
21. And
it found basically that compared to placebo, because they're all placebo, and the VAC, which is the Vitex Agnus, and I'm quoting here, preparations were confirmed to be effective in the reduction of PMS symptoms. They were 2.57 times more likely to experience a remission of their symptoms compared to those taking a placebo.
Wow.
That's huge.
It's huge, isn't it?
So, it's very difficult to argue with those sorts of, that sort of data. And there's so many studies on this.
Oh, and clinically, I see it all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
It's a little bit of a no-brainer, this one, isn't
It is a no-brainer, yeah. And, but very rarely would I get no result from taking Vitex. And if you don't get a result, there's something else going on, obviously.
There is. And it gets better than that, because what they're finding now is if you combine Vitex with vitamin B6 and magnesium,
Yeah.
that's a real powerful treatment tool for PMS.
Yeah.
And there was a study done in August 2023, just a month or two ago, where they combined them together and they put it in for a PMS trial. Now, this trial was huge. Loads of participants and everything, and it found that adding of B6 and magnesium made it more effective than just Vitex alone. So you can see that you can start to bring in other things. Now, B6 and magnesium are common, simple. Vitex is common.
Yeah, it is.
Probably. And you always look for the ones with the extracts, 10-to-1 extracts. They're the best ones for Vitex. You want them to be really good as well. And they listed a side effect of Vitex.
Oh, yeah.
You want to know what it was?
Yes, please.
It's an anti-cancer agent.
Oh, no.
I know. And I've got the coolest picture I think I've ever got.
Oh, this is hilarious. Oh, you didn't do the coloured one, Steve-O.
I know.
I got more impact with colour.
The colour one, for those who are looking at it screen now, it's got this massive graph of
it's
lines.
It's like a big thing of scribbles.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. No. But when you read it all, it shows you there's catechin, which is in the Vitex, and it shows that it causes apoptosis. It kills any sort of tumours you want to measure. It's high in nutrients. It does all these things. And there's this amazing graph here which shows you that it has very potent anti-cancer effects.
Yeah.
So you know how like when you're taking a drug and there's side effects, you're on antidepressants that has side effects and, the pill has side effects. This one side effect is that it reduces cancer.
Well, a good side effect to have.
You've got to love that. So Vitex is a really good one.
Yeah, it's one of the best.
And B6 and magnesium.
B6 and magnesium. And interesting, in clinic, B6, magnesium, zinc is like the triad of like amazingness when it comes to hormones. So I use that combination a lot, B6, zinc, magnesium. So yeah, brilliant. So obviously your zinc is obviously helping any sort of insulin issues as well, gut issues, mood issues, that type of thing. B6
and premenstrual syndrome.
Premenstrual syndrome.
I'll just read the title of this study.
Oh yeah,
you can comment on it. The effect of zinc supplementation on the improvement of premenstrual symptoms in female university students. A randomised clinical trial study showed a huge, but just zinc alone.
Yeah, zinc alone. Yeah,
zinc alone. Just zinc. Just they gave it to 36, 33. Oh, 33 was the group. Placebo got 36.
Yeah.
And it showed dramatic improvement.
Yeah. Like I said, I use it a lot, get really good results. The magnesium's good for the nervous system. Also for your COMT gene, so catechol-O-methyltransferase.
Yep.
If you have low magnesium, that will impact that, and that breaks down your catecholamines, so your stress hormones and things like that. Yeah. So really good for that. So yeah, zinc, magnesium, B6, I use it all the time for hormonal imbalances, mood issues, things like that. So
I've got other studies here on B6. There's one study here on evaluating the effects of magnesium and magnesium plus vitamin B6 on the severity of PMS. And I'll cut a long story short. The both things, the magnesium plus B6 had the greatest effect. And the placebo had the least effect. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
So it's really good too. So magnesium, zinc, B6, Vitex. We've got them so far.
Got those.
I'm going to hit you another one now.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favourite songs of all time. I used to play in a band.
Oh.
And it's called Rosemary.
Oh. I've never heard that song.
You've never heard that song?
This is the lead-in. I've done it now.
Because love goes where my rosemary goes.
Oh, I love that song. Yeah.
So do I.
Oh, there you go.
That's Rosemary, it's called.
That's like I didn't know that, this is like just I digress. There was a song I loved. I don't want to sing it because I don't look like a fool. But
sing it.
It's called. I used to think it was called "Hey Susie."
Yeah.
Hey Susie, hang on, but it's not. It's Hey Schloopy.
Yeah, Schloopy.
I always thought it was Susie.
Hang on,
like, what the hell's a Schloopy?
3-chord wonder song. That one, great song.
Such
to play.
a cool song. But so there you go. So I didn't know half what the words. I tried to look up I'm sorry, when we've gone off track now. We're talking about music. Tried to look up because American Pie is my favourite One of my favourite songs.
Really?
Because it goes for a long time, and I have
Goes
it.
for about
I have
seven-
it. Well,
No.
I have a 3.5 hour drive to get back to where I live after I come down
yeah.
here. So I play it. It goes for 9 minutes.
Yeah.
So I play it in certain.
It's got 6 verses. And as a singer and a musician, you try and play that, and there's no lead break in it. So you're singing straight like, bah, bah, Mr. Maker, for 6, and you got to remember all the verses.
Yeah.
You know, so you start off with a long, long time ago, and then, did you write the book of love? And then, it goes into the other ones,
It's
you know,
very
Helter
cool. So
Skelter.
I tried to look up what it meant. What was it about?
Well, Don McLean
I couldn't-
never think of it, but it's really about the plane crash of the Big Bopper,
Because I couldn't figure it out.
Richie Valens. And do you know that?
Yeah.
Do you remember the
I
plane
knew the plane
crash?
crash. Yeah, it wasn't around then, but I know about it.
It's when the day the music died.
Ah, right. That makes sense. Yeah.
And so it's a bit about that, but Don McLean admitted he was being on drugs at the time, so he went off track a bit.
Oh, right. Okay.
Typical 70s muso. Don McLean's still around, still touring.
Oh, there you go.
But my favourite song, Don McLean's Castles in the Air, but that's a good one to play on acoustic. But American Pie, God blows. I don't know how many times I played that song busking. And
I've played it so many times on the way home.
you try and play it with
on
your
loop.
fingers, and there's so many chord changes, and the voice just wears me out.
Oh, wow.
So I've got a love-hate relationship
You're earning
with
your
American.
pennies on that one
Yeah.
when you do that. So
but-
Rosemary.
Rosemary, yeah.
Sorry, everyone. We're just chatting amongst ourselves.
Rosemary. She ain't got no money. Her clothes are kind
Oh, I
of
should
funny.
download that one
Her
for your
hair
phone.
is just a wild and
Yeah, I
free.
like that one. I reckon
know
I
that's
should have been born I should have been in my early 20s in the 60s because I reckon
Yeah.
that's the best era.
Well, that was an early 70s song, Rosemary.
Yeah, but see, you'd have been. You'd have to be not born in the 60s because you wouldn't appreciate it because you wouldn't know. So you'd have to be at least 16, 17 so that you can listen to the
I just
music, you know
reminded of
what I
a
mean?
funny story. I dated a Rosemary many, many years ago. I'm married now. It's also legit. Many years ago. And I said, this is my favourite song. And she goes, I've never heard of the song. So her name was Rosemary and never heard of
you
that
should have
song.
serenaded her.
I
with the
did.
song.
I played it to her.
There you go. Obviously, it didn't work out well.
No, it didn't work out well.
Now got the beautiful
Shit.
Beck.
Yeah, got beautiful Beck now.
Yeah.
So, but rosemary is a fantastic sort of herb for the treatment of PMS.
Yep.
And this particular study I'm quoting here was done on someone with dysmenorrhea, so quite a severe form of it. And they compared it, against methylamic acid, which is a potent NSAID, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. Guess which one won?
Oh, I'm going to guess the rosemary.
Can I sing Rosemary again? No, I won't sing Rosemary again. No,
Let's
no.
move on quickly from rosemary. No,
Rosemary,
no,
so-
rosemary is amazing.
It's
is.
absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it enhances estrogen
Yeah.
detoxification,
Yep.
inhibits the formation of 6-alpha hydroxy, which is not a good one.
No.
So yeah, it's really good. And it's also good for your brain as well. Good for
very good.
Good for learning.
Yeah, the essential. We did an aromatherapy podcast about a year ago, and rosemary. I remember. Oh, yeah, that's a bloody good one. You forget all this stuff.
Oh, I love it. I love rosemary. It's one of my favourites. Yeah.
But rosemary is fantastic for PMS. So like taking all this sort of away and looking at this. So you're suffering PMS. Okay, you know what's going on in your brain because we've just explained it. We get your lifestyle right. You know, start eating the good food, start exercising, normalise your weight, under or over. I don't care. Normalise your weight. Try and reduce stress in your life. Difficult, but. You know, we did a podcast yesterday, well, recorded it yesterday, but it's probably come out last week, on herbs that can help with stress.
Yeah, so adaptogens.
Adaptogens.
And that's part of the treatment for PMS. You want to work on your stress response as well and support your adrenal function, that type of thing. So adaptogens are very good to put in when you're working on your hormones as well. So you're getting that stress support also along with that. So adaptogens, and then a couple of another really good ones for the liver. So turmeric and broccoli sprout.
Yes.
Really good for that detoxification, phase 1, phase 2, and turmeric's good for detoxification of estrogens. Broccoli is one of my favourite, broccoli sprout. I use broccoli sprout a bit. It's very good for so many things, also for gut dysbiosis. So it can have a twofold effect for hormones, works on the gut and also works on detoxifying that estrogen as well. Cruciferous vegetables are really good as well to put in the diet. So they're really good. So that's working on the liver. We're working on increasing our progesterone with the Vitex. We're working on the liver to clear that excess estrogen.
You can use, of course, milk thistle too for the liver. It's very good.
Milk thistle, another amazing one. Good liver tropo restorative as well. So it helps repair the liver as well. So, and then supporting those hormones. We're supporting our stress response with our adaptogens. And then nutritionally, you know, we're putting in the B6, zinc, the magnesiums. They're really good as well. And support that methylation as well. So B12s and B3s and folates, all that sort of thing, also really good. So yeah, and then that
And Vitex, of course.
Vitex is one of the best ones, isn't it?
So I mean, try and get all those things in a one sort of take home thing. You don't be taking thousands of tablets.
No.
But I mean, think about it. These things have all independently been tested. They all work really well together. There's been studies on them together.
Well, they work well synergistically. Like
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes better than orthodox medicine does.
Yeah.
And there's no side effects.
No.
You know, I eat broccoli and every night, and I don't have side effects from that.
No.
So this is really good. So, you know, for such a widely disorder, and don't think it's normal, because it's normal but not healthy. I think you said earlier.
Yeah, it's common but not normal.
That's right. I knew it was something like that. I knew I'd get it wrong. Sounds like
That's right. That's the one thing you got wrong. So
one thing.
you get everything
Geez.
else.
Can't sing Rosemary anymore. But but the great thing is that there's lots you can do.
Yeah.
Don't suffer in silence.
No.
You know.
Oh, one thing I will mention before we go is phytoestrogens.
Oh yeah. What about those?
People get a little bit nervous about phytoestrogens when they're in their cycling years. It's like, oh, it's going to increase my estrogen and it's bad and I can't do it. So things like your flax seeds and your clover and alfalfas and things like that, they actually can. So when you're cycling, they help to reduce excess estrogen, and when you're not cycling, they actually can increase your estrogen.
Yes.
So they are quite weakly estrogenic, but they will attach to your estrogen receptor sites, and they'll block your estrogen from getting in there. So they stop that sort of spike in your estrogen. Yeah. But then when you aren't producing estrogen anymore, say menopausally, you want to have something going into those receptors, and we're not producing our own. So it's only a little bit, and it's quite weak, but you're getting a little bit. So they're good for helping with a little bit with estrogen production, or some external estrogen production postmenopausally, and then blocking your estrogen if you're producing too much or you're not detoxifying it effectively if you are cycling. So phytoestrogens, I think, can be really good as well. So just don't be scared about them being bad for you when you're cycling. So
good point.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and then obviously fibre. We didn't mention fibre is really good. Obviously, that helps to bind to excess estrogen and toxins and everything, and sweeps everything out. So you want to make sure you're getting enough fibre as well. So
this has been really. I've learned a lot from this. It's been great.
I know.
It's funny at the start. I thought, how's this going to go? And it's really interesting.
Yeah. Look, it can be. I mean, look, hormones are my favourite thing in the world to talk about. I like.
You like talking about bowels.
I like talking about bowels. Yeah. But it's important. Obviously, we all have them, so we want to make sure that they're balanced as well as possible. So, if you can get on to some of those nutrients that liver support, that Vitex.
Yeah.
Look for those ingredients in
magnesium,
products.
B6, zinc. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, that's about all we've got time for. So I guess we'll catch up next week and we'll talk about another topic.
Yeah, we'll talk about something non-hormonally.
Non-hormonal, I promise. All right.
Yeah. All right.
See you next week.
Bye.
So, Nick, before you start crying of laughter again, you're not crying, are you?
No, I'm not.
There's a box of tissues down here for those who are off camera.
People don't know, sometimes we might break and something might happen and then we come back. Matt always cuts back in while I'm still laughing. So,
I know.
And then I just look like an idiot.
Yeah, well, you're not crying, are you?
No, I'm good.
No, that's good.
Crying for laughter, people, not crying.
I know. All right. You don't want to talk about it. No, just say it. We just cut it.
This has been over.
You said cut, so we cut
it. So, yeah, okay, cool. This is going to be fun. Sorry.